How's it going, everybody? I am Louis the Average Guy 1983. Thank you very much for joining me on this video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to install these motorcycle grade turn signals for the front and the rear of the Emove Roadrunner V3, as well as show you guys how to install the car grade horns up at the front. So let's go ahead and roll the intro so we can get started. Alrighty, so here's some of the things you're going to be needing. So you're going to be needing a 10mm wrench, a 12mm wrench, a 3mm hex key, and a 5mm hex key. You're going to be needing a Talencell battery so you can be able to power your turn signals and your horn. You're going to be needing sequential turn signals. This comes in a pack of 4 for about 60 bucks, give or take. So I will show you guys this within the video so you guys can see how they are. These ones here that are sequential do not require any of those relay flashers that I had to put on the Roadrunner Pro. So depending on your installation, this will be the best way to go. With that said, you'll also need a 2-liter WildMan bag, which has already been pre-cut so that I can be able to install it on the rack that I have on the V3 so that I can be able to put the battery bag in there. Obviously, I'm not going to install it in this video, but I just want to show you guys what I have on there because I still need to install the Tron lights and also the dash cam and run everything through before I make this permanent, because once I have this on, it's going to be even more impossible to take out the battery of the Roadrunner V3 in case I need to remove it for any reason. You're also going to need the dual horn set, which I'll go ahead and show you guys in a little bit, and finally a switch for yourself to be able to install turn signals and the horn. I modified this cable already to be able to use it, so I will show you guys a clip later on about how to wire this thing up so you guys can see how it goes, and then we can take it from there. Alright guys, let's get started with the install. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to want to start with removing the handlebar grip. So what we're going to be doing here is just using a 3mm hex key. We're going to loosen up the edge here because this one does have a little socket that has some tension that expands inside so that this little part doesn't move. On the stock grip with the red accents, it only has just a screw here and one right here in a plastic insert, so you don't have to worry too much about that. The next thing we're going to do is loosen up the screw on this side here and loosen up the screw on this side. And that should be good enough to pull out. There you go. See that? That's one. Alrighty, my friends. So step 2 is going to be to remove the brake lever because we need to get access to this point. So you just need a 5mm hex key to loosen it up. And then also, you might need a zip tie cutter to remove some zip ties from the brake line and the brake sensor to be able to get this off. So once we pull it off just like that, we can go ahead and start installing the aftermarket turn signal switch. Alrighty, step 3 is going to be installing the new turn signal switch. So we're going to put it on just like this and carefully slide it in. And we're going to align it with the switch here just so that it pretty much looks on par with it. Kind of like that. There we go. And then tighten it down. Alright, my friends, now that this is done, we can go ahead and install the brake lever back. Just like that. We'll position it in a little bit, but let's go ahead and install the grip. Alright, my friends, so now that this is installed in position, let's go ahead and install the grip. And we want to do with this part, just insert it on the edge. Just like that. Perfect. And now we want to position the grip to your liking. So I would suggest you sit on the scooter and position this however you like so that your palm feels comfortable, and then tighten things down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now off camera, and then we'll get started with the rest. Alright, my friends, so now we're going to be installing the horn. The only thing you're going to need is just a 10mm wrench so that we can be able to install these. Let me show you guys what you get inside. Alright, so you get 2 horns, and usually the cables are either pre-installed or they're separate, and you get hardware included with the brackets as well as everything that's needed for the installation. So since I already have my stuff pre-installed when it comes to its wiring, the wiring is going to really depend on you or the PEB that you're actually installing these on. This is why I'm not really going to tell you guys like how many feet of wiring I had to use. But I will go ahead and share the wiring once I install the turn signals and these horns. Alright, my friends, so we're going to go ahead and start installing the horn. We're going to be positioning it like this, but facing the front like this. And we're going to go ahead and put it here. And then screw it down. Just like that, and now we can go ahead and start tightening it down. All right, so this is already one. So let's go ahead and install the second one in the same position, just like this. Tighten it down. Try to position it as straight as you possibly can, as you're holding it still from the horn here and tightening it. There we go. Now that's installed. The next thing is wiring these up. All right, my friends, so now that we have this done, now we're just going to go ahead and install this positive wire that's for the little switch here. And we're going to put it on one first, just like that. And then the next one on the opposite horn. There we go. That's one. Now let's get the ground wire, which I did right here. The ground wire is separated since that has to be connected with the other turn signals to like merge them together. So this goes on this end, just like that, and then repeat on the other side. Alrighty, my friends, and that is done. So now the next thing is just going to be to start routing these wires through the wire loom, and I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera so that then we can go ahead and get started with the front turn signals. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so I have installed the wires for the horns, and I ran them through the wire loom all the way into here, this way, all the way across to the back right here, and now I have them literally coming out right here. I will be soldering these off camera, but I will show you guys exactly how I wired these up in a moment. But I do want to install the front turn signals where I want to position them at, where the brackets are already like pre-installed. I did have to use an M5 by 30 millimeter screw because the smaller original screw was just like too small for the brackets to fit, and I also had to use some larger size washers on both ends to keep these brackets in place for the turn signals. And then finally, I also pre-drilled a hole right here so that this way I can install the rear turn signals here and then solder everything on. And while I'm doing that, off camera, I will show you guys a clip momentarily of how I actually wired everything up with the battery pack so you guys can see how that's supposed to be done. Alrighty guys, let's go ahead and get started with the front. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys can see this. So I have the turn signal right here that I'm going to be installing right here at this end facing this way. It does have a little rubber grommet there that's going to have to be removed. So all we're going to do is just remove the wire tie out of the way so we can install a light. So we're going to start with removing this little boot that's on here. It's like a silicone boot, and we're going to remove the hardware just like that. And then we're going to run the cable in through the hole here just like that. Pull it, and again, the length of the cable for this is going to depend on your installation, but we're going to put it just like that and just straighten it out after we're done. So I'm running the hardware back into the light, just like that. And in a moment, we're going to position it right so we can get this reinstalled. Alrighty, the last thing is going to be to run the little rubber boot, or silicone boot, I think it's silicone. And now we can go ahead and start tightening up this hardware. Okay, start tightening it while still holding on to the turn signal firmly so you can position it how you want it. Alrighty guys, so this side right here is done. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the other side off camera, and then we'll go to the back side. Alright my friends, so I have installed the front turn signals on my son's Emove Roadrunner V3. These are sequential turn signals, so they don't require a flashing relay in order for them to work. They just work automatically, so that's really cool. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and take you guys over to the back side of the rack so I can show you guys where I'm going to be installing the rear turn signals. I'm going to show you how to put one on because it's pretty easy, like I showed you guys in the front. And then afterwards, I'll show you guys the video of how I wired everything up and how I soldered everything so you guys can kind of get an idea of what to do for yourselves if you guys choose to do this type of mod. It's not an easy mod, it's a moderate mod, but if you follow my guidance in a way, you can kind of get an idea of what to do for yourself. Alrighty my friends, so for the rear, I went ahead and I just pre-drilled a hole right here in the middle so that this way I can be able to run the light. Again, it's going to be the same way. This is a much shorter cable because we just have to connect these two wires together and then wire these onto their designated spot on this little harness here. Again, all the ground wires are being connected together as one, and only the positive lines are being separated for the front and rear when it comes to the turn signals as well as the horn. So let's go ahead and get started with that. First thing we want to do is get this off here. All right, now that this is off, we are going to be inserting this into the inside. So just run this cable in through this hole, just like this. And then face the turn signal in the rear direction, obviously. So from there, we're going to go ahead and install the washer. Run that through the back side. And then the nut. Run that through the back side. And then start hand tightening it as we're holding on to this right here. So unfortunately, because of that camera angle, I can't really show you guys that. But I will at least show you guys the aftermath. All right, now that I have this pre-installed, I just got to position it where I want it and then hold it in place and then start tightening it down. Alrighty guys, so now that this is done, the only thing I'm going to do is do the opposite side and then start soldering all these wires up together. And while I'm doing that, I'll show you guys this next clip. Alrighty, my friends, so now we're going to be talking about how I'm going to be wiring this whole thing to this battery pack right here. Now you guys can see I use this battery pack for like pretty much everything from my lights to the Tron lights. So I have an extra battery for the Tron lights. This one is going to be used for the turn signals, the horn, and the dash cam. Main reason we're going to just be using one battery pack for everything is because the horns and the turn signals don't always have to be used, so it shouldn't affect the life of the dash cam when it comes to its battery life. So this is why we're using this. However, the Tron lights does require 12 volts constant in order for it to be working good, or 9 volts, whichever you want to do, but you will drain that battery a lot faster because it takes more current. With that said, I want to show you guys exactly how I'm doing this. So I have a cable that looks just like this, and this comes inside of the box for this battery. All I did was cut the end off of it and I connected it to where I had to plug it in for the light switch that I'm about to show you guys, or the little turn signal switch and horn switch. There's a couple things I had to do. Number one, unfortunately, the horn switch that I got that's literally out of stock has 22 gauge wiring, and for the turn signals it's more than enough, but for the horns it's not even close. All I heard was clicking sounds because there wasn't enough current to be able to pass through the thin wire. So I had to up my game, and this really thick wire you see here, this is 16 gauge. I had to upgrade the cables. So this right here is a turn signal switch that I chose to go with. Unfortunately, it's out of stock. I don't know when it's going to come back, but I'm going to share something that's similar so you guys can get this if you guys want to. Just know you're going to have to mod the horn button if you want that. But it does turn on the right turn signal, the middle is off, left turn signal, and the horn button that you can just push in. Now, unfortunately, because it does use 22 gauge wiring and the cable's long, I had to upgrade the cable for the wiring for the horn, where the input wire has to be 16 gauge and the output wire for the horns has to be 16 gauge. So the back of it, you can see right here, you can see that I have an input for constant 12 volts and an output for momentary 12 volts going for the horn. It's inside. I went through a lot of hassle just to get this on. I had to melt the plastic on the bottom just to get these wires to get in here, because it originally had a 4-pin wire harness that's 22 gauge. And unfortunately, again, for the turn signals, perfectly fine. For the horns, not strong enough. So right here, you can see that the wire coding is pretty much figured out. You can see that the green wire is the right turn signal. The blue wire is supposed to be horn, but I had to disconnect that internally to plug in my own cable, this sticker. You have your left turn signal, which is yellow, and then your red wire that's supposed to be your constant input voltage. So every time you push a button, it makes contact with the 12 volt constant to your momentary. So all the ground wires, however, for all the lights and everything, including the turn signals, have to be connected together in one, and it goes into this little plug that you see here that was included with this battery. So all I did was I just cut the wire end off so that I can be able to do the main power wire and the ground. So there you have it. That's how it has to be done. So let me go ahead and plug this in here to the 12 volt side, because the horn does not work with 6 volts or 9 volts. It only works with 12 volts. So I'm going to turn on the power switch. You can see that the light is on right there. Kind of. There you go. So now we're going to show you how it works. So we have the turn signals here. We have your right turn signal. See that? Left turn signal. And finally, in the background, the horn. There you go. That's how everything is going to get plugged in, because Voro Motors decided to do a little switcheroo there where their constant power is 54.6 volts. And unfortunately, I had a Super 73 rear tail light, and I didn't know that their little step down converter didn't work. And unfortunately, I fried the LED light. So there goes $22 for that. So I decided to do my own little battery pack setup for these turn signals and mods that I'm going to be doing. So though it's very messy, this is exactly how I have to do this. There is no other way to get through it. It has to be under separate power. So if you do this, don't worry about using the turn signals on the original buttons for the Roadrunner V3. Just use the new one that looks just like this one. I'm going to try to find it, guys. This is a really cool little switch, but again, you're going to have to mod the main power wire because it's just not enough for the horns if you choose to use this car grade horn. Obviously, not everybody's crazy as me to do this, but I figured I would let you guys know that this is how it works. So with that said, let's go ahead and finish wiring up the turn signals and the horns so you guys can see how everything is supposed to go. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially done with the mod here. As like you guys can see, we have the rear turn signals on. So normally what I would do from here is show you guys how to install this bag. Now this bag right here with the zip ties is supposed to go under the bottom like here, just like this. But before I can install this bag, I need to put the Tron lights together first, because the method that you guys seen me do here, it's exactly what I have to do for the Tron lights and get, you know, all the wires soldered on and everything. So it's going to take a little bit for that. But I figured I would go ahead and turn this on for you guys. There we go. And what I'm going to do is demonstrate the turn signal. So here's one. You can kind of see it right there. See that? Here's the second one. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the front demonstration of the turn signal. This is the left side. This is the right side. And this is the car grade horn. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like to purchase a Roadrunner V3, please consider using my discount code TAG50 to get $50 off on your Roadrunner V3 at voromotors.com. It helps support the channel, and it really does help with being able to purchase other little products to be able to do mods on the scooters. That's mainly what the money is for. So with that said, guys, I will see you guys on the next video for the Tron lights, hopefully Saturday. This is going to be my closing of the video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace for now.